Welcome to the Kindness Project, the podcast designed to share stories of kindness and share how kindness can make positive change in our world, one small act at a time. This time on the Kindness Project, pools, travel, and we have part 2 of our interview with David Jamilly from Kindness UK. Welcome to the Kindness Project. How are we doing?
I'm okay. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right.
You doing okay?
I'm doing really well, thanks. I am joined by a girl whose Belgian heritage may be responsible for her love of Poirot. It's Charlotte Dames.
Woo. And I'm joined by a man who I'm affectionately going to call the keyboard drummer.
The keyboard drummer.
Yeah, I could.
Is that the best you can do on the fly?
Yeah.
I'm joined by a girl who didn't write her intros this week, did you?
I didn't know we were doing recording today.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
And like every time I was trying to write one, all I could hear was you going like that on your keyboard, and it just made me think of that.
Keyboard drummer. Okay, well I can live with that. But this week we're joined by a very special guest, a man people don't think actually exists. But is the driving force behind many projects, including the Kindness Project, and his obsession with pies. It's Russ Dames. Hello, Russ.
Hello, Chris.
I don't think he wants to talk.
He's silent but deadly. I should have saved that intro for next week, shouldn't I? Silent but deadly. How you doing this week? What's happening? How was school today?
It's school.
What do you mean, it's school? You must be doing something.
Yeah, we're prepping for our speaking and listening exams.
Speaking and listening exams.
Yeah, like in 10 days.
How do you prep for a speaking and listening exam?
You write.
You write?
Yeah.
So you don't speak or listen, you write?
We've got a plan, a speech.
Okay, and what speech are you doing?
We have to do it about our careers.
Okay, and you want to be a fly fisher, don't you?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I'm gonna talk about ponds.
Ponds.
No, I'm talking.
Hello, my name is Charlotte Dames. I'd like to tell you about ponds. Right, go on, tell me about ponds then.
I don't know anything about ponds. They're murky, they're muddy, they're gross.
Okay,
done.
Fair enough.
And you can dip your feet in them if you're feeling bored.
Right.
I'm actually doing a speech on creative writing and journalism and the course I'd have to take to get into that, and then there's a bit of sidetracking with the mental health effects of negative news in there somewhere.
Oh, cool. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, because we had to, I wanted to talk about the effects of stuff, I wanted to talk about the effect of something.
Yeah.
And the teacher was like, yeah, but it has to be linked to your career.
Related to the career.
Well, I can do this because this is...
I love that. But then the problem is, a lot of journalism is bad news, isn't it?
Yeah, a little something I learned while I was Googling, because I enjoy Googling and I needed some facts for my speech. Newsstands and magazine rack sales go up by roughly 30% when the news on the front is negative. But people who read negative news over positive or neutral news are more likely to catastrophize.
Yeah.
The thing where you internalise a problem and it just gets worse and worse and worse and worse in your head. So, yeah.
Bad news is bad for you.
Bad news is bad for
Bad
your
news is
mental health.
definitely bad for you.
There's
why.
too much of it. And
There is.
well,
I agree. We've spoken about this before, didn't we? Do you remember a couple of weeks ago I went through the paper and could only find five pieces of good news in the entire thing?
There were 20 pieces of news in there. There was only 5 were actually positive.
Yeah. Only positive news. So that sounds good. Just out of interest, are ponds getting a mention?
I might have to mention ponds.
Put ponds in. You know what? I like the challenge, right? And I've done this before, where I've been doing a presentation or a speech, and I've said to somebody, give me a word to include.
Yeah.
As part of the thing. And the word that I'd like you to include, Charlotte, in your presentation, I don't want to put you off too much.
It's an exam.
Is bubblicious. All right? Just, if you can get bubblicious.
Can we change it to pool? I can get pool in there.
Pool?
Pool.
Pool?
Like a swimming pool.
Pool.
Yeah.
Pool?
Pool?
I don't know how to say that word anymore. Pool. I'm going for a swim in my pool.
Going for a swim in my pool.
You go for a swim in your pool. That's a bit weird. Would you tell our listeners where they can find us on the interweb?
Internet thingy.
In the pond that is the internet.
I don't know, really. No, I'm just kidding. There's this magical thing called Twitter, and if you go in the magical thing called Twitter, you go into the magical thing called the search bar, you can put @OlaKindness, and we automatically just go bing.
We just go bing, do we? I've never been on Twitter where it's gone bing.
We're not a literal
Twitter
bing.
doesn't bing. Twitter bongs.
It's not a literal bing, it's more of a flash.
Flash.
Yeah, but it's not a bing and a flash.
It's a bing and a flash.
If a bing and a flash had like a little tiny love child, it would come out as
What
whatever.
would they call it? Would they call it a bing flash or a flash bing?
No, it'd be a fling.
A
Or
fling.
a bash.
Go on Twitter, have a fling, find @HolaKindness with the H, and we're everywhere. We're everywhere on the interweb. We're on Facebook.
We're everywhere.
You can email us. I was just going to give my work email address there. holla@thekindnessproject.co.uk.
Or just wave at your camera.
You can phone Russell on... What's your mobile number, Russ?
Ain't got mobile.
Right, okay, so
You
don't...
can email us.
Don't phone Russell because he don't want to know. I mean, that's not particularly...
So rude.
That's not particularly kind, is it?
No.
Oh, not good. Anyway, shall we get on with the show
We need
I'll
a question.
I know, I'm doing the question.
Okay, do the question.
Shall we get on with the show with the question?
Yeah.
This week's question is, if you could be from another country, what country would you choose? Now, as Charlotte's just wandered off halfway through the podcast, I was just going to get a
I'm
water.
very thirsty. I spoke too much.
Russ, what country would you choose to be from?
Venezuela.
Venezuela. Right, okay, why Venezuela?
Don't know.
Okay. And where would you choose, Charlotte?
Somewhere cold.
Right. England then, yeah? I'd stay where I am because it's
I
cold.
actually quite appreciate this place.
I like it.
Yeah, I like it.
I think England is an amazing country. However, I also like Italy for the food,
Decent.
for the limoncello.
Japan's
Scandinavia.
Look, I think Scandinavia, and we've talked about this on the podcast before, Scandinavia, we could learn a lot from Scandinavian countries. Happiest countries in the world.
Poland and Holland.
Huh? No, that's not Scandinavia, darling.
No, they're the happiest countries in the world.
What?
I thought it was like Poland and Holland.
No,
because
it's
they had, like,
Denmark and Sweden and Finland, apparently, and Norway.
Where are Poland and
and-
Holland on that?
and-
It's kind of decent.
And Peru apparently is very good. I don't know actually. But yeah, so maybe I'd pick Scandinavia or I'd pick Italy for the food and the lovely limoncello. How about you?
I'd stay here.
Stay here? Just stay here?
I'd go up to Scotland. That'd be nice.
Okay, fair enough.
Or maybe I could like live travelling.
Where would you go? Scotland.
Scotland.
Russ, give us just... Oh, he's shaking his head. He don't want to do it. Give us your best Scottish expression.
It's not gonna happen.
It's never... It's kind of going to happen. Is that...
You're bringing shame down upon the rest of us.
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what that was. Anyway, shall we get on with the show?
Where did the Irish come from?
Should we get on with the show?
Oh yes.
Okay, so this week we've got the second part of our interview with Mr. David Jamilly. Now, David, we like Charlotte because not only is he an amazing guy, he's also got a Wikipedia page.
Ooh.
So it's really easy to tell you about David because we could just get straight from his Wikipedia page. David Jamilly co-founded Theme Traders with his sister Kim. Theme Traders is a London-based event management business and prop hire company launched in '89. David has started his humanitarian activities, entertaining sick children at Great Ormond Street. He founded the Pod Children's Charity, appeared on Secret Millionaire, and is now one of the people involved in World Kindness Day. In 2011, David Jamilly founded Kindness UK, a not-for-profit independent organisation which aims to promote, share and unite kindness every day. So a fella who's right up our street. Shall we listen to the second part of the interview?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I've had this conversation with a couple of our podcast guests, but it's interesting because I think kindness is quite, and I say this in a completely genuine way, quite a selfish thing to do because it does make you feel better. And it's interesting, isn't it? It's just one of those things you go, why if it's going to release endorphins in your brain to mean that you've got a bit more of a bounce in your step, why don't more people do it?
Yeah, because there's not enough scientific evidence out there at the moment to prove to people that that's what actually happens.
Gotcha. When is the research coming out? Do we know yet?
Well, I don't really know, to be honest.
Okay.
I mean, it could be months, but it's being worked on. It's actively being worked on. So, but keep watching our website. kindnessuk.com, and as soon as it's out, I'm sure we'll be the first because we're working on it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And how did you get into sort of prior Good News and prior the Kindness Project? How did you get into this area? What was your moment of, you know what, I really need to just take a look at this?
Well, there wasn't really an epiphany.
Yeah.
As much as I'd like to say there was, and I didn't suddenly get, a message overnight or anything like that.
Yeah.
I've always believed in giving and sharing, and I've always believed that that's a fundamental law of nature that you have to give to survive. I mean, a flower doesn't hold its bud tight. A flower, wants to give, it give its, and that's the same throughout the entire development of the planet and development of nature.
Yeah.
And it's always been, don't know where it came from, it's always been a big part of my life to do something where I'm able to give, nurture, help others.
Yeah.
And the return I've got for it, and I didn't do it for return, has been absolutely immense.
Yeah.
It's been mind-blowingly immense.
Yeah, amazing.
I get so many amazing things done for me, and people offer me so many amazing things. It's just, wow, it's incredible. I mean, I want everybody to be having this incredible experience that I'm having. Yeah,
it's great. And talk to me a little bit about Kindness UK Day, and how does it work?
Well, there's a day which was set aside by the World Kindness Movement, as I mentioned earlier, in 1997. Being the 13th of November as a day of recognition of kindness. And I've been working since I've been in the field for the last 12 years on trying to get it recognised by the UN, who are the body who says this is a day of recognition of something, as a day of kindness. And what happens is that across the globe, people do things with a focus on kindness. They can be all sorts of things, ranging from flash mob dance to a big hug on the beach in Australia, to random acts of kindness at work, to kindness calendars running up to Christmas. So any initiative that anybody wants to take up on that day, a simple individual, simple as get in touch with some people who would benefit from you getting in touch with them, send them a nice card or ring them up or something, as simple as that, to much bigger, grander things, and giving money to charity, or opening the door for people in supermarkets, or talking to people off the street, or it just goes on, the list goes on and on and on and on.
Yeah. But a day where you can be focused on it, right? So
Yeah, absolutely. And, I'm a great believer in a sort of, without sounding too wacky, a global pool of consciousness where if enough people are thinking on a particular subject at a particular time, that it actually has a physical, tangible effect.
Okay.
So, enough people are thinking about kindness, I know it will have a huge ripple effect.
Okay, cool. And I know again, because I've done loads of research, and I don't want to get too stalkerish, David, but it was on your Wikipedia page. You've been on Secret Millionaire. So what was that experience like, and what did you learn from it?
I learned that people all around the UK and all around the world, all have most beautiful layers of positivity and goodness within them, and that sometimes those layers get a little bit buried or blurred through the busy lives we lead. And I learned that when one gives something to somebody else, it's not always the thing which is given. So in other words, if you give some money to help somebody, it's not always the money which is the important thing. Doesn't matter how much the money is. It's the support and belief, positivity and kindness that comes with the fact that you would give something to somebody. So those are a couple of things I learned.
So I really like that point. That faith in turning around and saying, I believe in you and I'm going to support you, is actually, again, I'm not decrying the financial side, but as important as that gift of cash. It's that mindset and confidence stuff you're giving somebody by saying you're not alone. And these are people doing, I'd imagine, sort of amazing work in their communities as is.
Yeah, there are so many fabulous projects going on all around the place. On that particular subject, I mean, I would generally, when I see somebody in the street, I would generally offer them some kind words. And, often I feel as though they're much happier than the quid or the 2 quid or whatever. I might give that as well, but essentially I've observed that the kind communication is often far more valuable. Sometimes you need to use money as a tool as well, because we live in a society where the token of exchange is money. So people are geared up to be thinking like that. But once you get beneath that layer, it's actually as much or more the human contact,
connection,
and support that you give them.
It was interesting. There was a guy. So for work, I head into London, head into the city a couple of times a week, and there was a guy who used to sit outside the Superdrugs just by Fenchurch Street station, and he used to be out there like every single time. And I used to pass, and I used to give him a couple of quid and stuff like that. And there was once when I stopped and said, look, I know I sort of help you out, but do you want me to pop into Superdrug and get you a sandwich and a Coke? And really amused amusingly for me, and I don't know why this chuckled me so much, he said, no, I don't want a Coke, I'll have a Diet Coke. And I don't know why he made that choice, do you know what I mean? So anyway, went in and got him a Diet Coke, went to my meeting, and then headed back, and he wasn't there the next time. But then the next time I was there, which was a couple of weeks later, he was sitting outside Superdrug again. So I popped in, and because it chuckled me that it was a Diet Coke, and I remembered it, I just went in and got him a Diet Coke, and I said, you won't remember me, but I remember you like Diet Coke. And the look on his face, David, was amazing. You know, do you know what I mean? It was a thing that like, thank you for remembering what I like, was made a bit of a difference to his life. And it's interesting how those little subtle things you take for granted can really, like, like in our lives, we assume that people think about us and think about caring for us. But if you're in a position where people often don't, just like remembering something as simple as you prefer a Diet Coke over a Coke is interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, well, that's a lovely thing to do.
Yeah.
I find, that just, simple human person-to-person conversation, like, it's a bit of a cold day today, spring day, it's an acknowledgement that the person is a person, and that's very important to do. And it's not always through giving money that you acknowledge a person as a person. It's a sort of deeper thing that you have to do.
Yeah. So what plans have you got for the future then? For the future of the Kindness UK and the work you do?
Well, I'm just going to be plodding on to my best ability. I'm picking projects according to how much time I've got for the foreseeable and future beyond that. So,
amazing.
So I'm just going to keep going. Keep trucking on.
And what else do you spend your time doing?
What else?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I've had, job for a living as well.
Okay.
So I work in an event organisation.
Okay.
And I like things I like doing. I like, playing the guitar, and I like doing Tai Chi, and I like travelling, and so a pretty full life. But I find sometimes I can for kindness, because I think it's really important.
Yeah, agreed. How good a guitar player are you? Are you a decent player?
Well, I'm pretty pathetic, really, but I really enjoy it.
I've got recently bought a piano, and it's on my list to learn. But because every time I go into my lounge, it's sitting there looking at me, going, "You did intend to play me at some point in the future, didn't you?" And I still haven't done it yet. So I'm sure I'll get round to it. Yeah.
Well, even just plonking keys, occasionally, with the guitar, even for me, just strumming it, or playing a chord, or even playing a single string, a single note, is quite a meditative process, and it actually, I find it quite calming, and I don't actually feel as though I have to be a chord standard player. I'm really happy just, being a pathetic player.
Yeah. So Charlotte and I are really into. Charlotte's my daughter, my 15-year-old who I host the podcast with, and she's really got me into Lewis Capaldi at the minute, who's this amazing Scottish singer-songwriter, and so my mission is to just learn a couple of Lewis Capaldi songs over the next couple of months, so I can play them. I won't be singing. I'll leave that to Charlotte, because if you ever heard my singing, it's worse than my piano playing, and that's not great. But it's all good. So, David, last thing, we do a thing on the podcast where we every every week we've got a non-kindness related question. Basically, we ask our audience because we're pretty curious people and we like to know about what our audience are up to. So if you don't mind, they're not kindness related, but let me ask you a couple of our questions of the podcast just so you can join in with the fun. So if you could be any character from one of your favourite books, who would you choose?
Mickey,
Who was that?
Mickey Mouse.
Mickey Mouse. Oh, good choice. Why Mickey Mouse?
Humour brings happiness to people.
Love it. Absolutely love it. What's the best use of an egg?
A demonstration to the world about the growth process and the desire that nature has to keep growing.
I like it.
Demonstration, to us that we should keep growing as well.
Yeah, agree with that. Who's your favourite Muppet?
Okay, when it comes to media and stuff, and I'm actually useless.
Are you? Right. Okay. Well, I'll skip some of the media questions then. What's the favourite thing about where you live?
I like it, but there's a huge cross-cultural mix here.
Amazing. Yeah.
98% of the population in Brent, where I live, comes from all around the world. So it's a densely populated borough.
Yeah.
And I really like the big mix of people and the fact that people get on together.
Yeah.
It's actually quite a peaceful place. It's quite an unpeaceful place.
Well, you look at the parts of London that are effectively the most diverse. They tend to be the most accepting as well, don't they? There's plenty of places in London that are like that. Yeah, it's an interesting one. Sorry, go on.
No, it's just like great.
Yeah, okay. Let me just, that's a media one. I'm trying to duck through all the media ones. What's the best piece of advice you've ever had?
Don't give up.
Okay.
Don't give up, keep going.
Okay. Who gave you that advice?
I have read it, heard it hundreds of times.
Plenty of times.
Nothing original. I mean, the person I always quote with that is Winston Churchill.
Yeah.
But loads of people say the same thing.
Yeah.
Ranging from the Dalai Lama to all sorts of lifestyle gurus.
Yeah. When was the last time you cried?
I cry quite frequently.
So do I.
When I see films, I don't know why, they have some deep emotional effect on me.
Yeah.
Just some film will trigger some tears, and I don't know when it's going to come, or just... Actually, when I see things which are simple and beautiful, that tends to bring me the tears.
Yeah. Yeah, I turned 40 recently, so I'm 41 now, and I've said since my 40th birthday, like the floodgates are open. I literally cry, and the weirdest thing is, it's normally, because I'm a dad, I've got two daughters, it's normally about like movies involving dads and relationships with their kids. I'm an absolute sucker for crying at that sort of stuff. I know you mentioned you travel quite a lot. What's your funniest travel story?
Funniest travel?
Yeah.
Funny travel story. I couldn't think of one off the top of my head, to be honest.
Okay, cool.
I love travelling.
Yeah, what's your favourite place in the world?
Bhutan, which has recently come to recognition for its gross national happiness program. But aside from that, the people in Bhutan are very, very, very unspoilt.
Yeah.
they're very authentic.
Yeah.
They're great believers in loving kindness, which is probably why I like it there so much.
Yeah.
And I go there, whenever I can, really. It's my favourite place to go to.
Amazing. How many times have you been?
7.
7. Oh, amazing. Good stuff. Yeah, and there's a simplicity to life, isn't there, that they've got in terms of the elements that they focus on. I'd imagine is good. I used to. So this week's question of the week, which I'll ask you, when I look back at the things that I've bought that have been the most useless, I used to own a pager. So what gadget do you look back at and go, I can't believe I bought that?
I don't really have very many physical possessions like
Okay,
that.
yeah.
So where I live, it's like, I have a bed, a couple of chairs, and I have a television, which is also a sound system. I have my guitar.
Yeah.
And I don't really have any other cluttery stuff, really.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Yeah. So yeah, my pager clearly is a story. You're certainly more disciplined than I am in terms of that. Do you follow a sense of like essentialism in terms of your lifestyle then? Are you sort of quite I'll just have what I need?
I don't believe in waste.
Yeah.
I think it's a terrible shame to waste resources of the planet. I think it's a terrible shame to create carbon footprint when it's not necessary.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And I think it's a great shame that we're all taught through the media that we need to possess things to be happy.
You don't, do you? Yeah.
We don't need to possess anything. The earth gives us more or less everything we need. It gives us food, it gives us air, and after that, most things are luxury. I know lots of people would not agree with that because they think they need a whatever and the bigger television or whatever. But essentially, the earth gives us everything we need free.
And again, it goes back to that fact of what actually makes you happy. What makes you happy? And it's often about the relationships as opposed to the stuff. And I think people often misunderstand that, don't they?
Yes. It's very hard not to misunderstand it because that's what we're taught.
Sold. Yeah.
Because that's the society we're living in. But I can say that the majority of extremely rich people I've met over my lifetime have also been extremely unhappy.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's really interesting. Okay, that's great. Thank you so much for that, David. Where can people find out a little bit more about you?
Well, untitled.com.
Lovely. Great stuff.
So anybody wants to contact me, there's an email contact form there, and I respond to emails. And thank you, Chris. You're doing a good job, and I really enjoyed talking to you. It's been a nice half an hour to spend. So and keep up the good work.
I've really enjoyed it. Thanks, David.
All the best.
So what do you think of David then?
He's decent.
He's decent, isn't he? He's a good bloke. Good bloke. Shall we get on with the end of the show?
Yes. 'Tis the end.
It is the end, but the end's never the end, is it?
The end is always the beginning.
The end is the beginning of the end, because now, my friend, it is time for last week's question in the podcast this week with bonus answers. And last week's question of the podcast this week was, you have been commissioned to write your own novel.
Yes.
What would you call it? And what would it be about? Now, I know you're halfway through your novels, aren't you?
I'm not even halfway through. I'm like 1/5, I think.
Okay, fine. And what's your novel called?
Practice.
Practice. And what's it about?
It's about actors falling in love.
Actors falling in love. Mm-hmm. What would you write a novel about, Russ? Oh, you actually answered this week's question in the podcast, didn't you? So, no, don't tell me because it'd be a spoiler. So I'm just going to read from the
Directly from the Facebook page.
the thing that I can't find, and I will get there in 2 Shakes of a Lamb's Tail. It was quite a popular one this week.
What? 2 shakes of a what?
2 Shakes of a Lamb's Tail. It means just a second. So Russell, our esteemed editor, answered first. Russell said, I think I'd write about my life. I'd call it My Mind and I, about this strange and sometimes precarious situations it's got me in. Why are you blaming your mind? Leave your mind alone. What's it done to you? Apart from getting you in a lot of trouble. How lucky have I been to come out the other side and hopefully inspire people with a mental health issue and show there is light at the end of the tunnel. I love that. I think that's great. And I agree. I think there needs to be more people telling their stories about how they cope with mental health issues. What would you call it, My Mind and I?
Me, my mind and I.
Me, My Mind and I. So that's 3 people. Who's the I? Still you.
The
Still-
eye and the mind.
The I and the mind. Right.
Maybe it should be written as I instead of like.
Yeah.
Just like it was an island striker.
The eye of the time.
Okay. Nanny Bob has written in. She'd write life with my precious family, all the ups and downs.
Could we shorten that to family roller coaster?
Yeah, exactly. The roller coaster of family. Mike Christie's commented he'd call his book Surviving the Odds. I'll let you know the final chapter soon. I think that's an autobiography as well. Amanda Smead would write a book called You Don't Need That. It would be all about the free stuff. Love, fun, living, laughing, caring and enjoying the life you have. That's all you need. I quite like the ethos of that book. How to enjoy life without all the materialistic stuff. Quite like that. Roberta White asked me what would my book be called. Well, I've got 3 at the minute that I'm working on. Number 1 is a little dystopian world future novel that's shaping up to be very tasty.
I got a glimpse of the other day because you left your laptop open.
You've been reading my novel?
No, I just read one word of it. Like
What word?
I can't remember. It was like I can't remember.
What word?
It was just a name. I can't remember what the name was though.
Stop spoiling my novel. Don't give it... Look.
You left it open on your laptop and you left your laptop in front of
No,
me.
look, listen. If my novel idea gets pinched by Hollywood and they make it without me getting credit, I'm going to be upset. So don't say that the...
Ain't that good, is it?
That the... What do you mean it ain't that good? You read 1 word.
I read the first chapter when you were originally writing it.
Okay, it is... I think it's... I mean, I'm not the best judge of it. I'll let somebody else be the judge. But I'd read it. I'd read it, and that's important.
Anything's got to be better than your first book.
Oh! He comes in with an insult. He decides to stay quiet throughout the podcast, and suddenly he's like, yeah.
No, I agree with him. I didn't get the past.
Right, it wasn't.
I didn't get past
right,
the
it was
dedication page. Don't
right,
worry
okay,
about
look. The first book wasn't particularly designed for a schoolgirl and a podcast editor to read, was it?
No.
It was a book about pensions, available in no good bookshops, but you can get it still on Amazon. And I still get the odd commission check come through every now and again, so I can live with that. Lucy Patrick said mine would be called. What do you just? Well, before I carry on, do you want to chuck any more insults at me about my writing?
we'll get there.
I'm the only one who's published a book here. It was a boring book, but it was a book.
I published 75 podcast episodes.
Oh, he did. Yeah, he's. What do you do?
People have
Do you
been
do the
reading-
content as well, Silent Boy, or what?
No.
Silent run-ins. Right.
People have been reading my content since I was like 10, so I post mine online.
Lucy Patrick said mine would be called What Are They Doing Now? It would be written by a dog. Dogs see everything that's going on behind closed doors, and taking a dog for a walk could be hiding a secret life. What does the dog see? I often wonder this when I'm doing something, and I turn around and he's just watching me with that "Woman, what are you doing now?" look on his face.
That's the plot of several popular kids' books.
Yeah, I wonder if there's a children's book.
It is.
I reckon there is. You know what's interesting? Sophie had my youngest daughter had an author called Karen G come to the school recently, and her book's about a dog.
There's a book about a dog that's a spy, and like one of my favourite parts is like at the end of the at the end of the first book, dog gets shot. It's great. It's a kid's book.
Sounds really jolly.
But she got shot in the ear.
Right.
And like she gets adopted by a new owner, and she's got a hole in her ear, and she gets a medal from the Queen. It's great.
How did she get shot in the ear? Was she a police dog or something?
She's a spy dog.
Spy dog.
She's a spy dog.
Spy dog.
Yeah.
Seriously.
It's better than the spy meerkats. No, they were ninja meerkats.
Ninja meerkat. Seriously.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So that, my friends, is it for this week's podcast. And on that pretty good note, we'll see you next week.
Bye.